Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Trending in Hollywood. I am Scott Menzel, joined by Mr. Demetri Panos.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Scott, what's going on?
Not much. I know you got the little dance. I'm gonna.
Why am I dancing? Because we have like the catchiest podcast jingle in all of podcasting. Period. Like I hear that, and I just like dance, and nobody wants to see that. So we've just lost all our viewers because they're watching me dance.
So I mean, to kind of like open with that, that's funny. We don't know what's going on. I mean, we'll be the first to disclose it. But if a lot of people are starting to tune in to watch this show, thank you very, very much. We've noticed that over the last couple of weeks, the numbers on this show have started to climb, and like last week's episode was very high. So I hope no one's playing a trick on us, but we appreciate it.
TikTok bots.
Yeah, probably. That would be our luck, right? So, but hey, if you are, and anyone who does watch, we appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah, seriously, we do, and especially those who come on live too, because they're taking time out of their schedule all over the world, and that's it's actually pretty humbling to me, and I know for the both of us, I think, especially considering we're two middle-aged white guys who know nothing. All right, I'll speak for myself on that.
Middle-aged white guys programming, we know that there's a lot to choose from.
Yes.
So we thank you for spending some time with us on your Friday mornings. Or
very much so.
If you're watching us on the East Coast.
Or evening if they're watching in England, or it could be Saturday already.
Wherever you are, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
We do.
We will now end the show today.
See ya. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're trending. But there's a lot of trending today. I mean, this entire week, I thought it was going to be a slow week, and it kind of was, but then a couple of things happened today, and then throughout the entire week, there were key stories. So, Scott, take us away.
All right. So our first big story, this is something that Demetri shared that just broke about 35 minutes ago, is this little bad boy right here. Top Gun Maverick is going to leave the 4th of July weekend, while Mission Impossible 7 is going to claim Memorial Day in 2022. What do you feel about this, Demetri?
I think there's lots going on here. Number one, I think it's a good sign in a sense, because they're moving it to what potentially would be a busier date. And I think the date they had, there are a few things. Number one, if you're paying attention to world events, I know that our president, Mr. Biden, had said something about by 4th of July weekend, we should be able to have gatherings and get together with the family again, right?
Right.
So that could have played into it, being that people may not be rushing to the movies. They may, because of last year, they may want to spend time at a barbecue, grilling hot dogs, hamburgers, and just having a good old time. The other thing that I was thinking about, again, if you're paying attention to current events, it's something that is trending today. You have to be paying attention to it. Paramount could be doing a very preemptive move because they too, Scott, how many times have we discussed things about big corporations when they make a move or they do something and we go, or you say, what do they know that we don't know?
Pretty much always.
Right. Okay. So, this could be what do they know that we don't know? Because going back to what has been trending in world events and current events, there could be potentially another surge of this damn virus.
Yep.
And Paramount could be thinking, going, wow, things could be surging. We know that people are getting vaccinated, but we might as well just move now. we're going to go in November, which again, look, if they had moved to, I don't know, October or something, I'd be thinking the movie might not be that great.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
since they're moving it to more of a Thanksgiving Day holiday period, they're looking to get a really good run. And to me, that's a sign that they believe in the movie. So that's a good thing. Moving it is not a bad thing. It's like, it's the reasons why. And they may be doing it preemptively. We're in April, almost mid-April, May, June, July. You know, they could be saying, damn it, if we're having surges and maybe people are still afraid to go to the movies, or certain things are going to shut down again, not on 100% lockdown, but maybe theaters, they might be saying, let's move now.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, also you got to remember, if they're here's my take on this. If I'm not mistaken, this weekend is now being or now belongs to Black Widow, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I think it's wise, regardless of the cases, to kind of move the two tent poles away from one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think claiming that spot near Thanksgiving is good. It also, another perspective is, and we've talked a lot about this on this show, is after a year of beat down movies of depression and things of that nature, there has been a couple articles, and we addressed some of them, that the award season may be looking for some more lighter, fun movies to play, and to have a release date that's tied almost into like when fall festivals kind of start. Who knows
True.
if Top Gun might appear at a Toronto or a Venice if it actually happens. And if not, it's still a nice prime release date for our last minute push in November into December, even if it's
Right.
just for special effects or something like that. But
Sure.
still something that we can look forward to as well.
But Scott, going off of what you just said, because I think you said something that was fascinating about moving off of like Black Widow, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been a great case study, though, to see? Because Black Widow, if I'm correct, is also going day and date on Disney Plus Prime or whatever
Yeah.
the hell it is, right?
Yeah.
Premiere. Wouldn't that have been fascinating to see who would have ruled the box office that weekend? Is it the movie that is going day and date on video, or is it the movie that is strictly exclusively theatrical only? That
Yeah.
to me would have been a great case study. Um, just to see who may have come up on top, and because for both sides too, after the end of the weekend, one studio would be thumping their chest, and then there'd be articles written all about either the exclusivity at movie theaters, or and how putting it day and date, this is a show, or the other way around.
Right.
So that would have been fascinating to me. I'm glad. I don't know. Paramount, I think, probably made the best deal, and now they could probably release 2 Mission Impossible movies in the same year.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were filming back to back.
I wonder if that'll happen.
Right. Because Memorial Day is May.
Yep.
And then they can release the second of that because they film back to back in November.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty fascinating because, kind of now I'm looking at the release date schedule. I mean, we're not going back to a normal summer, but I will say that we have a pretty nice summer ahead considering what we had last year. I mean, kicking off like, we have Cruella and Quiet Place kicking it off at the end of May. Then we'll have In the Heights the first week of June, followed by The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard the following week. Then you have at the end of June, you have Fast and Furious 9. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid summer in terms of big budgets, especially considering the lack of them from last year.
Right.
Top Gun was actually was supposed to be July 2nd, which means that Black Widow was July 9th. So they wouldn't actually
Right.
even have came out on the same weekend. The only other movie it was coming out with was Peter Rabbit 2, which we all know it would have blew that away,
Yeah.
box office wise.
Right.
But yeah,
But
I mean, it's interesting because literally we go July 9th, we have Black Widow. July 16th, we have the Space Jam movie.
right.
We there apparently there's a new Cinderella coming out as well with Adina Menzel. And
Mhm.
then we got Hotel Transylvania 4 the week after that, Jungle Cruise the week after that. I mean, we're starting to get one tentpole movie a week, which is I hope they continue like that. Like if anything that comes away from this, I hope we don't rush everything out in a crowded weekend. I hope we allow it to
Right.
have like every movie gets its like at least it's one weekend to shine.
Right. And but again, to your point though, or to what we were saying earlier, I still think regardless of there would have been a week between Top Gun and or Maverick
Yeah,
and Black Widow.
yeah,
I still think that that same uh data applies.
yeah,
Because one is a Marvel feature, which we know historically they always play well.
yeah,
How well will it play going day and date on Disney? And somebody's got to figure out some algorithm to figure how many went to the theaters as opposed to watched it at home. Where Top Gun Maverick is exclusively at theaters. We also have Thanksgiving could be a really fun time, right? All
yeah.
things considered, that we're not facing a plague. We could have Maverick. We could have James Bond. I mean, that could be a really kicking Thanksgiving period, the likes that we haven't seen in a while, where there's really great, fun tentpole commercial entertainment.
So essentially, all they really did though with not Mission Impossible, but Top Gun was they just swapped the dates because Mission Impossible 7 was scheduled for release on
Mm-hmm.
November 19th. So that's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, but again, to me, it shows they have faith in the movie because that is a busy time period, and we'll have to wait and see if our assessment is correct and we truly are trending in Hollywood if they end up releasing 2 Mission Impossible movies within a year
Yeah.
of each other. You never know.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, but it's interesting because I feel like we almost need to, at this point, with how much casting news there's been in the last couple of weeks, I feel like we need to have a spin-off show called Casting in Hollywood. Because I mean, literally, there's been so much casting this week.
I know.
Looking at Deadline and all this stuff, but we're not going to go into all the details. But we're going to go into one that actually broke again right before the show started, and this is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Becoming the lead female character in the next installment of Indiana Jones. And what this article doesn't talk about, which I got an email from Lucasfilm, thank you, Disney, that John Williams will also return to score the film, which Demetri has pointed out to me. His last Star Wars entry was supposed to be his last movie. So this is a big deal because he's coming back for Indiana Jones.
It really is a big deal. Also, considering that Steven Spielberg's not directing it.
Yeah,
it's James Mangold. So to me, it's that really is the big deal. So whatever Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays, look, she's fine. She's great. It's good. We're yet to know what character she's going to play. I've said this before. I'll say it again. To me, Indiana Jones without Spielberg at the helm kind of feels weird.
Yeah.
It kind of feels weird to me. Growing up with Raiders and Indiana Jones and it always being Spielberg, and yes, you can argue some are better than others and whatnot. Fine. But Steven Spielberg, to me, was never a director where I tire of him from this series. And, it's weird. It's just weird to me. Of course, I'm going to be all in. I'm going to see it. I'll look forward. Well, I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah.
It just has. There's a little hole in my movie going heart that it's not Spielberg who's doing. Who's saying farewell to a character that he and George Lucas created on a beach in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I would have, I don't know, that to me would have been something special and nostalgic. So who
I
knows?
think it's interesting because obviously he's still serving as a producer,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say that James Mangold, he's a filmmaker who like I really have grown to love. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
everything that he has done. I believe he did Identity, right? He did Identity, the
I believe
hotel
so.
movie. Yeah, yeah. I
Yep.
mean, I really love that movie. What he did with Logan, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and Ford versus Ferrari is a good movie. I mean, I didn't think it was an awards worthy movie, but in terms of like what it was, I found it very engaging and entertaining. And I also I love Kate and Leopold. So
Uh-huh.
this is a guy who has done so many different genres, and he's
Right.
kind of pulled every single one of them off.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I'm sort of intrigued by this because after the last one, I kind of think it needs a little bit of fresh air to it, and I
Yes.
think he might bring to it. He might bring it.
Again, I mean no disrespect to James. Like this really doesn't have. Yeah, no disrespect to James Mangold. I do agree with you. He is a really good director. He gets it. I do. It's just to me, to not have Spielberg helming it, regardless of whatever you thought of the last one. Again, growing up with Raiders of the Lost Ark, Spielberg, Lucas, like that was such a big deal, and to know, again, it's just a nostalgia thing to me. And I always, Spielberg is my favorite director of all time, and that's all. It's. I will miss him at the helm. This is not saying that James Mangold will not knock it out of the park, but I think from a direction standpoint, you know, Spielberg is Spielberg. You can blame Lucas and Spielberg for if you didn't like the story of Crystal Skull, that's fine, but it's hard to knock his directing chops as far as putting together a classical cliffhanger, serialized type of movie, which Raiders of the Lost Ark was kind of based off of, like James Bond and those classic serials that Spielberg and Lucas grew up watching at the theaters when they were going to movies. So Mangold gets it. I know he does, and I'm sure he'll do fine.
Yeah,
For
I
me, it's
mean,
purely
listen, I
nostalgia.
mean, I just for yucks, I pulled up his filmography. I mean, this guy is like on fire. I mean, they're one of the few filmmakers who I can literally say that I have enjoyed every single one of his films to a certain degree. I mean, the only one I didn't see was the
Great.
first film, which is Heavy. But I mean,
Uh-huh.
Copland, Girl Interrupted, Kate and Leopold, Identity, Walk the
Right.
Line,
Right.
310 to Yuma, Night
Yep.
and Day, The
Yep.
Wolverine,
Yep.
Logan, Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah. The guy has a great filmography. I'm not, again, please, to anybody who feels the same way Scott does, and
Yeah.
I appreciate him as a filmmaker. I mean, no disrespect to the gentleman's talents or to him. I was working at Lionsgate when we released 310 to Yuma, and let me tell you, the opposition that we got, because people were going, a Western. I was at a conference, a Western, and I would pump up James Mangold and Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, and somebody was, oh, that'll be he goes, oh, that'll be a day where hell freezes over that a Western like does really good. And I was like, oh yeah, buddy, I'm the one who's got control of the thermostat. And I was really happy that 310 to Yuma did some fairly decent business and a really good remake. If you haven't seen it, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right.
Keeping it in line of stuff going on within the industry that is sort of a surprise. We have this Netflix and
Huge.
Sony breaking ground for a licensing deal. Um, this is fascinating. This starts in 2022 as well. How do you feel about this, Demetri?
This is huge. Okay, this is like really, really huge news. And as much as I hate to be cliche about it, but it's like game changing in a ton of ways. And I'm actually kind of surprised that this hasn't been done before. So the nuts and bolts of this is that Sony's getting out of there. I believe they have a deal with Stars, right?
Yep.
And they're going to Netflix. So basically, this is just a retooling of like the old rental kind of like you're releasing your product through you're having somebody else release your product on the home entertainment side. Now, this is something that happened all the time. I know there's Zachary Hunter is watching. If I am correct, Lionsgate used to release Fox DVD titles up to a point. They had contracts where other studios would release because they didn't have the infrastructure to do that, right? So now for Sony, they're choosing Netflix, big money deal, right? But what else does this do, right? It says, hey, Sony now doesn't have to go out. We talk about streaming and how there's just so much out there. They don't have to build their own streaming service because now it's all going to go out via Netflix, which is already a subscription-based streaming service. And they don't have to add that infrastructure. They don't have to come up with Sony Plus because that's what it would have been called because everything in streaming is like a plus. So they don't have to do that now. And to me, it makes me wonder. I think a lot of studios are going to start looking at that going, do we need like CBS Plus? Like, can we go through like, wow, it's kind of crazy. And they're going to have to start looking at the revenue they're pulling in because again, we talk about it. It's so diluted. It's so diluted. And look, me personally, I'm different from you. You watch a ton of TV. I only have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and HBO Max. And I only have HBO Max because I get HBO. So, right. So I know you have a lot more than I do. I find that it really is. I'm surprised another studio hadn't tried to make this a deal like this with somebody. I think it's huge. It's and Stars has to be going, what happened?
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, with our conversations that we've had over not only on this show but on previous shows we've been on, I mean, the truth is that you're getting to a point now where it's becoming a joke with the number of subscription services. Even if you're someone who like cut the cord and you even do like I mentioned on this show a couple of times, you share your password. When you come up to about having 10 different streaming services right now, and everyone else kind of like wanting to jump in this game, it's going to get to the point where they're going to stop being profitable. Not everyone can have this, and you kind of have to have your unique content. You have to have a library of catalog titles that people would want to revisit. I mean, to me, what was fascinating, and this is something that no one talks about enough, is that television shows, are really a big deal for streamers because that's really what people watch. People love rewatching episodes of Big Bang Theory or Friends or The Office or Parks and Recreation or Sopranos, like stuff that has really iconic, like long-term, I don't know, effects on people, like things that redefined the industry or the genre or something. And there's not everything. Like people are not going to go as much as like they might discover like a crazy ex-girlfriend on Netflix, but it's not a reason for someone to subscribe to a service. They're going to find it, they're going to watch it, they're going to be like, "Oh, that was a great gem that I missed out on." but then they're going to boot up like The Office and watch it 20 million times over and over again in the background. And people forget that. Like a lot of times when people watch TV, it's stuff they feel familiar with and they feel comfortable with. And they just like kind of have it on as background as, oh, look, Seinfeld's on. Oh, that's that funny scene. I love that scene. And you just turn around. That's something that streaming and these companies need to acknowledge, is that if you don't have a lot of those franchises in film, or if you don't have those lovable TV series, launching a streaming platform and hoping that you have good series is kind of like a risky move, unless you have a ton of money like Netflix to keep throwing at series and hope that some of them work and realize that some of them won't. But it's a risk either way.
Right. No, I actually don't think that this is much of a risk. Again,
it's not a risk.
It's not. It's easy.
It's a safe way.
It's a safe way. It's a safe way to do it, because now they don't have to do that infrastructure. And Scott, it's so funny that no sooner were you talking about, but I do agree with you. People love to watch old shows. I'm waiting for Happy Days to show up somewhere. Tari comes in and says, I don't like rewatching old content. I go to Netflix for new content. Well, there you go. Look at that. Oh, Tari. That was a shot, Scott.
Was.
No, but it's above and beyond just television. This is going to be their movie library.
Yep, Bad Boys and Jumanji. Yep,
huge. I mean, I think it's huge. It also probably means that there's going to be another price hike.
Oh yeah.
But wait to see what happens to I don't know, an NBC universe. I don't know. Wait to see what happens to a lot of these streaming things going, if we can get into business with Netflix and make a ton of money, why are we spending money on this streaming service? Again, I hear a lot about Hulu.
Yeah. But they're owned by Disney, who also has Disney Plus. So eventually what's going to happen, I'm going to predict this now, sometime down the line, the two of them are going to merge.
Perhaps.
And it's going to be like one service, because they would already with Hulu, you get, and that's what they did with Hulu, right? Because you get the ESPN, you get something else. Like there's like a couple like things you get with it.
Right. No, I don't disagree. I think I really think everybody's going to be looking at this, and I think it's a good deal for Sony, and other other studios might look at this model to see how it plays out. I think it's a really solid deal for Sony, and I think this is out of the box thinking.
Yeah,
this is moving forward, and Netflix now has more content, and they'll probably even brand it, perhaps, much like HBO Max has their hubs for like Turner Classic Movies. Like it's, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they could even say Sony television movies, whatever.
Right.
Great deal.
Well, I want to comment on this Apple TV Plus comment. I agree. It's quality over quantity, 100%. Ted Lasso, Wolf Walkers. Oh gosh, what's the Bill Murray movie, On the Rocks?
On the Rocks.
They don't have that many series or movies yet, but the things that they have put out, Palmer, quality stuff, with good stars and things attached to them. But I also think they're smart because they have the price point really, really low. Like it's $5. Like you kind of like, it's like, well, that's a cup of coffee, or like that's me going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac.
Right.
Like it's like when you start going to $10 and $15 and $20, you're kind of like, what am I getting for this price? $5. It's not too bad.
It's true.
And I think Apple's going to really take off as they continue on, because I think they have so many companies behind them. I mean, even the platforms that are going for award season, if people don't know this, a lot of it is exclusive to Apple TV devices, which therefore means that the studios are like deciding that we're going to pair with Apple. So they have reasons to continue this service and keep going the way that they are. Not to mention the fact that they're going to clean up, pretty much all of award season as they started so far with Ted Lasso. They're slowly starting to get on that Netflix, because Netflix, remember, it's taken a long time for Netflix to break into film, and I'm not sure if they've fully broken in this year yet either. But at least they're getting some awards. But TV, remember, House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, right
Stranger
away.
Things. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agreed 100%.
So, and then our next topic of conversation,
that was a good that was a good that was a good topic.
It was.
I think. Yeah. I hope people now have a. Well, I hope they like the Sony deal, but I think it's a really important topic that outside of the trades, it's good to get it out there for people to understand it better.
Yeah.
Good topic.
Absolutely. All right. And then, now going into the womp womp news of the week. Good old Scott Rudin. Everyone speaking out about his abusive behavior. To me, what's fascinating is that, speaking of Netflix, the woman in the window just had a trailer event yesterday, which I was lucky to attend. And it was funny because as that was going on, there was like a small news story, not anything major, that kind of broke, that basically said that Scott Rudin basically destroyed this movie. Like he had his different edits and stuff like that. It sounds like the Warner Brothers thing all over again with Snyder Cut. And we're trying to, me and Demetri have been trying to figure out why now. Why has this story broke all of a sudden? But it's no surprise that he's a monster, because I mean, if you know the industry, if you work in the industry like Demetri and I, you've heard some mumbling, so to speak.
No, it's not mumblings. I want to say split screen because I want to keep the conversation open. Okay, yeah. So first off, Scott Rudin's been around for a long time. He's one of the few, well, he's actually very few, that has been successful in film, television, and Broadway.
Yep.
I had a friend who had actually worked for him, but his abusiveness is kind of legendary. What I find the most fascinating about this, and it's I think it's an interesting case study, is why so long? Why is this now? Okay, and as opposed to, I think it really does show the dichotomy between sexual offense and abuse, right, to violence. So, like, and you can look at this too from even a movie perspective. People are far more offended watching a sex scene rather than watching a horror movie or an action flick or a drama where people are getting either riddled with bullets or chopped up with a machete and their heads are getting cut off. People are okay with that more so than they are watching a sex scene. And when you take this now into like real life, right? He's, again, I think it goes to sex and violence.
Yeah.
And what he does is violent. Okay. Let's be clear. When you're throwing something at someone with the intent to harm because of your anger, that's violence. In that article that you had up, an assistant, he hurt an assistant's hand, had to be taken to the hospital. In fact, en route to the hospital, Rudin was on the phone with his lawyers. That's violence. Violence. Now, you look at somebody like Harvey Weinstein, right, who had a little bit of both, but it was his sexual prowess. It was that really got him into trouble, because up to that point, everybody knew that Harvey Weinstein was an a-hole.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It was when they started to come out with the stories of his sexual misconduct and disrespect to people. And again, I'm not condoning Rudin here, but the Weinstein story, all over the place. Everywhere, still is today. Yeah. You looked at Bryan Singer, Kevin Spacey, careers done pretty much for the most part.
Yeah.
You look at Scott Rudin. This news breaks out in Hollywood Reporter. Was it reported anywhere else?
Not really.
Not that I really saw.
No.
wasn't on the news, wasn't on CNN. And again, the guy was legendary for being abusive. I'm waiting for the Joel Silver article to come out. So, he's another one that is known to have abused his assistants. Is this going to harm his career? I don't know. But to this point, and who knows, there could be more to the story, but I haven't known, we're unawares yet if there was any sexual abuse to somebody, right? And it's just a weird thing to me how society looks at the two, because I've been in this business for a wicked long time. And I've been part of situations. I've had things hurled at me. I've been in toxic environments before. It's no fun. It really is no fun. And, not a big name outside of Hollywood, Zach writes, but I'm going to show you how big a name outside Hollywood he is, because this is a guy, Scott Rudin, who he's been producing for an extraordinarily long time. Now, also something else, he got in, Scott Rudin, one of the many movies he produced was Sister Act. This guy was making hits. It is said, from what I recall, Whoopi Goldberg would not allow him on set. She would not work in doing Sister Act if he came on set.
Wow.
But let's just take a look at some of the stuff that he did. Flatliners, Pacific Heights, Little Man Tate. And again, this guy didn't just do commercial films. He did movies like Little Man Tate, Sister Act, Jennifer 8, Searching for Bobby Fischer, Addams Family. I mean, these are all movies, a lot of them that we know and love. Addams Family Values, The Firm, Tom Cruise, Sister Act 2, Nobody's Fool with Paul Newman. Just a fantastic movie. And again, I'm not saying this isn't yay, Scott Rudin. I'm just pointing out that we have seen a ton of those guys where his name is right up there on the credits.
What Zachary's saying, and I do kind of agree with him.
You can call him Zach.
It's not it's not a household name like a Joss Whedon, like a Harvey Weinstein's kind of this weird anomaly, right? Because as a producer, his name was always touted as a Harvey Weinstein production. People knew exactly who he was, and they knew, exactly who that guy was. They did really did.
Well, he ran a studio. Too,
I understand that, but it's
so
weird.
That's
his name was out there so much more. If you're someone who watched the credits, you're like, God, that guy, his name's on everything. But most people don't read the credits. But I think your bigger point, the bigger thing here is, it's funny how when it comes to the violence versus sexual, how we used to have a conversation way back when about how violence was okay in movies, but sexuality wasn't, right? That was always a huge topic. I remember actually writing college papers on this topic. And it's funny because it's almost the same thing when it comes to controversy. It's if anything sexual comes out, it's get rid of him. He's done. Get him done. And again, it's nothing. This is not justifying anyone's behavior, but it's a weird pattern that Hollywood goes down. That if someone's abusive, it's a pass. It's almost and I hate to bring this conversation up because we talked about it so many freaking times, but the whole Joss Whedon thing with Justice League, it's funny. Gal Gadot comes out and it's oh yeah, I had a hard time with him. No big deal. We'll just let it go. We'll move on. But if it was he sexually harassed her, this would never be oh, no big deal.
No.
It would be
Right.
whatever. It's such a weird way that Hollywood deals with things.
That's why I bring it up, because to me this is a perfect example. And again, I just want South Park Bigger and Longer, one of our favorites, Sleepy Hollow, and South Park Bigger and Longer. That's a musical.
Yeah.
Right. And then he goes off to Broadway and he's huge. But some other movies we may have seen, like The Royal Tenenbaums, School of Rock. I heard Huckabee's Team America, World Police. He also did a couple of the Coen Brothers movies, including No Country for Old Men. So he's won Darjeeling Limited. The guy's name is on a ton of movies that were both critical darlings, box office darlings, you name it. And he's had success at Broadway. He's one of the only people that has gotten, what do they call it? An EGOT, which stands for Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, Tony,
yeah.
And you know, so but his reputation has been known throughout Hollywood, much like Harvey Weinstein's abusive behavior was known throughout Hollywood, and it was accepted up until for Harvey Weinstein, the sexuality abuse came in and the disrespect, and then boom, everybody paid attention. I'm of the I'm of the belief too that violence is also a major violation, being that whether it's verbal abuse or whether you're getting things thrown at you. I've had things thrown at me. I had a guy punch a hole in the wall right in front of me. I've been belittled in front of my peers, yelled at. I understand what it is. That too is pretty damning. And plays hard on a person's psyche, especially one who's trying to make it and come up through the ranks. He's had a history of doing it. I don't know what the flashpoint is here, but to me, it's very crazy that the Hollywood Reporter comes out with this big story, and it only goes a few years back, mind you, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't go back to like the 90s where he was in his heyday. And again, nobody picks up on it. Nobody's really, I mean, there have been some stories. I've seen it on social media, but nothing like, it's like, yeah, all right. So he yells at people. He does this to people.
We almost turn it into a joke in a weird way, right? I mean, let's go into actors, right? So we have the famous Christian Bale incident. We have the famous Russell Crowe incident. We have the Tom Cruise incident from earlier this year or late last year. We almost turn it into like a joke. It's like, oh my God, it's so funny. He went off. Oh my God, it's so funny. Not thinking about, again, within the industry, the mental health factor that someone yelling at someone else has on a person. And not knowing individual people and what they're going through during that day. Their mom could have died. They could have found out their sister has cancer. Their dog could have died. Like whatever. They're bipolar. Whatever.
We all have bad days.
They have bad days.
You yelled at me the other day, in fact, but I knew you were having a bad day, so I just let it slide. But it hurt. No, I'm kidding. No, but they had a bad day. I think your difference though is like between a Christian Bale, who else was it? You mentioned Tom Cruise. Like, I don't believe there's great reputation that this is a pattern with them as to mistreating people.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But with Rudin, it was a pattern.
Right.
Much like it was with Weinstein. It was a pattern, and it's Joel Silver is another classic example of that as well. Again, you can look up you can look him up, and oh my God, he's so right. Tom Cruise is Les Grossman. I thought it was more of a parody of not so much Scott Rudin, but I thought it was the other guy I just mentioned,
Weinstein.
No, not Weinstein. Lethal Weapon, Joel Silver.
Oh,
I thought it was.
Okay.
Now I want to confirm. But yes, it is no secret that Scott Rudin was mean and angry. Again, great movies do not excuse behavior. He's been doing it for a while. I want to know what the flashpoint was and why Hollywood Reporter felt now is a great time to come up with this article. Did something happen? Is there more to come? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the story unfolds. But again, it just shows in our society the difference between this type of abuse, violent abuse, and how long you let it pass for. Because I don't see Rudin going away. He's still going to be producing hit Broadway shows.
Yeah. By the way, that person that Les Grossman was based off of is someone called Stuart Cornfield, who worked with Ben Stiller on most of his films. Starsky and Hutch, Dodgeball, Duplex,
Really?
Tenacious D, Zoolander.
So he had other people punch other people on set. Number one, one of Tom Cruise's great cameos.
This to our points, right? Like here's another person that just came up who apparently had abusive behavior and like enough so that they would model a character in a movie off of. So there you go.
Yeah, and so it's just very interesting to me. Like this one article, at least in its form right now, is not going to like end his career.
No.
Whereas Weinstein's he's in jail. So I just find that difference between a sexual offense and pure violence like that, abuse. It's abuse. You abuse your husband or wife, right? You can go to jail for that. And he's abusing people in lesser power than he is. He's using his power. He threatened people. He lied about people and ruined their careers after they left. I've seen that happen too, like in real time. That to me shouldn't be condoned. It shouldn't be celebrated. But yet Hollywood always seems to give that. They know about it, but they still take dinners with them. And that to me is offensive as well.
Yeah.
So many people suffered, including a friend that I knew.
Offensive. This segues into our next topic.
Yeah. Talk about offensive and abusive. Yeah.
No one could be more offensive and abusive than the Academy this week. Oh my God.
Scott and Zach, I'm just gonna warn you, Zach, earmuffs. See, my dog was offended more by the Academy Awards than Scott Rudin. It's because he never hit my dog. But Scott, I'm gonna let you run with this first because I know that this it's a toothy topic.
Oh yeah. So listen, it's hard for me at this point to get really upset with a lot of the stuff that happens within this industry. I've been in it for 20 years. I've seen so many things happen over the years. And normally, like when I see something like the Oscars and like they're making announcements, like adding venues, which I feel like it's just silly in itself. Like, it's like, guys, just like do the Zoom thing like everyone else. Or you know what? Suck it up and just tell people the winners early and then have them actually record a professional thing. Like show up at their location and give them the award and record their speech in real time like a publisher's clearinghouse.
Hey, you won the Oscar.
Like, hey, you won the Oscar. Here you go. Let me get you natural reaction. Like, I mean, the lengths that they're going for this show just go to show again the power within the industry and how everyone just caves to them. And there's so many factors that I'm not going to be able to tackle all of them in this, but I just want to start with number one. It showcases that the Oscars has more priority over every other award ceremony. By them doing this and everyone caving in, it says, F you Golden Globes. It says, F you Critics' Choice, F you HCA, F you Emmys, F you Screen Actors Guild, every other organization.
Award. Yep.
Just a big middle finger because we're important. We're the ones you need to worry about. Let's do this. You have to be in person. If you can't come here, we'll open a venue by you. You can come see it. I mean, just the money and the greed and the freaking, I don't know, the importance that they believe they have is just
it's
amazing.
The self-importance is
self-importance. Crazy. But that's fine. Like, I mean, like that stuff, like I know I see it and it wasn't really that big of a deal for me. I didn't get worked up to the point where I was having like freaking like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But this story really, I mean, I can't get over this. It's like to label them as essential workers and their guests. I mean that's the added like kind of fu to the healthcare workers, to the first responders, to the people who have lost their businesses over this past year and a half because of
Mhm.
a pandemic. It's the ultimate fu because it's not like they're producing a television show. They're not producing content that's going to entertain millions of people. It's to give them themselves an award, to pick up their award instead of have that award mailed to them or have someone show up at their house
Right.
with the award. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I mean, I don't understand how more, again, this is another thing is like, it shows how little people care about the Oscars this year because
Uh-huh.
not enough people are talking about how upset they
No,
should be about this.
no. And Zach says it one word, hubris, and there's a lot of hubris. And it's even more so too because you and I talked about this a couple of times this week. There were really good conversations, and we're moving forward with the conversation. To me, the only award show that could literally claim get essential worker compensation or waivers, let's say, would be the Grammys, because Taylor Swift, all the performers were working. They were literally working, like they had to perform. It's their job to perform. Actors are just showing up, but we don't know who's going to win or lose. What are they going to get a waiver for sitting down and losing?
Yeah.
And their guest? I mean, and even if you win an award, is that working? What are you doing? You're getting an award. It's the tone deafness that the Academy has, and like the self-importance and the privilege. And again, it goes to like this, for lack of better words, like this privilege that the Academy seems to have now. They've lost all sense. I want to build on the conversation too we had earlier in the week about this. When was the last time the Oscars were just fun? Right? Where they weren't just thinking about themselves, where they actually were fun. The movies most of the people knew about. And this is when the categories were just 5. It's crazy to me. And now to do Oscar nominees and their guests can get essential workers. If I were an actor, especially Hollywood, which is something we talk about often, so cause driven, how can an actor go, no, I'm not going to. I mean, why am I not
telling people who are going online, telling people to stay in the house, get vaccines,
wear a mask?
Wear a mask. Give to Feeding America, give to all these charities, is going to show up to something in person for no other reason, just to get an award. And the thing is like, I understand that eventually someone's going to have to do it. Someone was going to have to be the guy to take the rope and say, you know what, enough is enough. But the thing is, this has been how it's been this entire year. And you're not at that point. When we're at 50% or 60% vaccinations, where more than half of the state and half of the country is vaccinated, fine. But everyone else is going in this direction, and like you got to be like the ones right now is be like, nah, we're not going to do this. I mean, you just had the Grammys, you have the Spirit Awards doing it virtually. I mean, 1 year, just give it up 1 year. What's the big deal? You're just like everyone else. Who cares?
And it's a phony, and it's a stolen honor waiver.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's a stolen honor waiver to be called an essential worker just to show up at an award show and sit around and wait to see whether or not you win or lose. And it's shameful on so many levels, because it just goes to show they don't care. They don't care. And especially with this year's movies, no offense, but nobody cares. They don't care if an actor this year shows up in person. The ratings are still going to stink. They're going to, because why? Because of the movies. Sorry to say. And I don't mean disrespect, but because we had such an anomaly of a year, these movies, albeit in a regular year, could have been driven by some semblance of a box office, playing at art houses. But a lot of people still don't know Nomadland.
No,
A lot of people, I've been watching. I've seen some ads on, I think, CNN for Sound of Metal, but they still don't necessarily know how to see Sound of Metal. And good movies, but they're not movies. There's nothing peppered in there with commercial draws. And again, I hate to be that middle-aged white man or that old codger, but when the categories were 5, those 5 movies, whether it was a big commercial success or maybe a little bit smaller, people knew The Piano. People knew The English Patient. People knew, but they also knew Forrest Gump. They also knew Silence of the Lambs, right? And the Silence of the Lambs, a horror movie, winning an Academy Award, crazy box office success. That doesn't happen so much. We went to 10, and Scott, we said this conversation this week. Black Panther's in there just to say Black Panther got a nomination, and we knew it had no shot in hell.
No, and it's always, and the funny thing is that anything that has mainstream appeal now is met with controversy. And just look at the past 4 years for that obvious example of that. Joker. Oh, it's a Scorsese ripoff. Oh, another movie about a privileged white guy. Blah, 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 blah. Poor him, poor him. Oh, Green Book. Oh, it's racist. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's just like, you kind of look at those as like, we're going to be losing. We're going to I mean, Black Panther, a good superhero movie, but like, we know that I mean, I'm going to say it, and I know it's a controversial thing to say. It was box checking for them. It was box checking because it was right after Oscar So White.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, just, I'm not saying that it didn't deserve it, but like, let's just be honest. That's the reason why. And we all knew it had no freaking shot in hell in winning Best Picture.
No.
Bohemian Rhapsody, another one, met with controversy. It was like no one could just focus on the film, even though we probably had a Scott Rudin movie that year too, but that's okay. And so many Harvey Weinstein movies that have been in the mix that have been nominated and won Academy Awards. Yeah,
it's and Oscar has to retool.
Yeah,
I don't know how it does this because when Oscar was really extraordinarily popular, when they had these hosts we talked about, like even like Jack Barr, Johnny Carson, Bob Hope, these people were in they were pop culture. They were truly pop culture throughout the world, right? And then you can look at the Billy Crystal years, right? And people could argue that the Billy Crystal years were some of Oscar's finest and funnest moments, but he was a well-liked, well-known comedian who had box office appeal at the time. His movies did really well. Audiences loved him. They tuned in because they loved Billy Crystal. He happened to be funny. He could make fun of Hollywood and they would like not feel so insulted, even though the barb was there. And they could never find anybody. And I don't know who there is today that you can find to host it. Now, personally, this whole hostless BS, it's BS. To me, part of the Oscars was having somebody who could move things along, but they had the hardest time because, again, how we consume movies and what movies are popular, we don't have like, I don't know, like who is a comedian, a box office darling, well-known within the community that could host the Oscars and be successful because they've tried. David Letterman failed. Chris Rock failed. They tried Steve Martin with Anne Hathaway, right?
Anne Hathaway and James Franco was like one of
that's it. Anne Hathaway, James Franco. What are you thinking? But didn't they double up Steve Martin, or did he do it with Alec Baldwin?
I don't remember.
They didn't. I don't recall. See, Steve Martin, like if you want to double it up, do Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Right.
Both of them, people love them. They've been around in movies.
It was Alec
that
Baldwin.
people like. It was Alec Baldwin, but
Yep.
that was a bad year. Why not just have Steve Martin do it himself? People love seeing him in movies, right? But I don't know what it is with them. The Oscar kind of lost its way, and this essential worker baloney just goes to show how obtuse they are and how self-important they feel about this, when in a year where people really don't care about awards. Listen, if the Grammys couldn't get good ratings with the variety of performers that they had, and they were for everybody from Billie Eilish to Taylor Swift, they had some great rock. They had a huge mix of people that kids love, and they couldn't get ratings. Why does Oscar feel that they're going to be any different today? And why do this? There's no need.
No
need.
I think that my end point about
Yes.
this is that I don't mind. Were you talking about Yash's comment?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll put
It's a good. It's you know it's a very good. It really is a very good comment, but again, it just goes back. Like Titanic wasn't like a billion years ago.
I know,
you know, but he's right as far as it did help that market later on down the line.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I was going to say is that I think I didn't really care. I didn't have much feedback or thoughts on this. I mean, as I said, I spoken as I went off in the beginning. There's a lot of things that I look at and I'm kind of like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong on so many levels. But I think where this was like the breaking point for me is that they already have went above and beyond to do the satellite venues, to say we're not doing Zoom. And, you know, a lot of people already disagree with it. They already felt like they were full of themselves. But this was the breaking point for me because it's basically earning a title that you didn't earn.
Mm-hmm.
And you classify yourself in the same category as a doctor and a fireworker.
It's a paid for, but that's the thing. I want to know how much they paid for this baloney.
You already said you were going to do it. Why did you need to go this extra step? Because like, is it like it gives you a little bit more like, oh, it's okay, you're essential. So like, because we gave you that title now, it's okay for you to show up. Because like, if you have any morals or ethics, you would know that, no, I'm not a teacher. No, I'm not a doctor. I don't deserve this title.
No, I don't deserve this waiver.
Yeah.
I'm not an essential worker. I make movies for a living. I memorize lines. I do a damn good job of it. But I'm not, you know, sure, I can make people happy, of course, but I'm not an essential. And you know that this was paid for in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, because how else do you get it done in this town? How else do you get that done? Essential worker waiver. An essential worker waiver. Think about that for a celebrity.
Yeah.
And again, why are not more celebrities? Because this is a town of causes going, I'm not going to accept it. Yeah. I'm not going to accept it. And directors, I'm not going to accept this. I will be at home, but I'm not going to accept. And you know what? I'm not bringing a guest.
Yeah.
If they want me, come to my door, or I'll be at home. We'll do something.
I'm not the Golden Globes. Didn't the Emmys do that so well? I mean, again, the Emmys, as much as it was a rating debacle,
sure,
the way that they did certain things was kind of like they were the first ones out of the gate to do it.
Yeah.
Learn from all these other shows. There's so many examples now.
Absolutely.
Just incorporate some of them. I mean, I thought the level of them actually showing up, they had the money. To me, that's a better way of doing it. Like when you announce the name, if you want a national reaction, like Zendaya's reaction to getting that was like priceless. Like
yeah. Agreed.
I mean, like there was the SAG award or whatever it was the other day where like Viola Davis fell off her seat like this. Like it's like that, you know.
Scott, you almost fell off yours.
You get that kind of reaction. To me, those are the moments that people love. And it's like, you're going to get more of those if it's completely a total surprise. as
Right.
opposed to being the person. Oh,
Right.
oh,
Right.
thank you,
Hey.
Tom Cruise. Oh, there's whatever
Right.
his name is. Whoever.
There's an essential worker.
Yeah,
There's an essential worker right there. Hey, Scott, can we put this on pause for a second? Because listen, I think that if you actually fall off your seat,
yeah.
we could go viral, right? Oh, wait, did people hear me? Because you almost fell out of your seat. And I was gonna like that. That would have been the funniest thing. And they say podcaster falls out of his chair. We would have been viral. We could have done. Oh, you ruined it. No, but I agree with you, and I love the way that the Grammys handled it.
Yes.
You know, I love the way that the Grammys handled it because I got to be honest. Who is the host of the Grammys? The late night talk show host. Somebody help me out.
Is it Seth? I actually don't know who hosted it.
Oh,
Seth Meyers?
No. Late night talk show host, popular. God, who hosted? Who hosted the Grammys?
Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah, which he did a really good job, and yet, like, I think he probably did the Staples Center to the outdoor thing. You know, he probably did that run once. Let's be honest. And the other bit was like they filmed. I have a feeling that a lot of those performances were pre-filmed. I think. I believe.
I would agree with you.
You know, but the way that they handled it and having their outdoor like award thing and having only the people who were nominated, so it would swap out and they seemed to be social distance and people were wearing masks. I mean, I thought they handled it really well. The Academy needs to settle down. They need to settle down because they're going to have more of a problem going forward. Unless they get a hold of themselves and say, yeah, we have to be more audience savvy. We have to be more nationwide, worldwide savvy. And because commercial movies can be Oscar worthy movies, for sure. It's been proven throughout history that can happen. We don't have to do fake waivers and pay for a fake essential worker waiver. It's an insult. And I think it's just bad form. Bad form. Absolutely. Stolen honor. Anyways.
Yeah, I can say that better myself. All right. So what do you want to end on? I feel like it would be sad to end on such a depressing note.
Well, I think it's a good conversation. And God, you know, of everything we talked about, right? This one, like the people who are joining us live, thank you.
Yes.
But they got into this conversation. And that's why I think that, you know, they also got into the Rudin thing. People showed up late, so they missed our first topic. Bully for you guys. You should have been here earlier because that was a good conversation too about Maverick. But I just think that this is a really good conversation. Why? Because we love movies. And there was a point where we really loved watching the Academy Awards. You know, growing up on the East Coast, I'd stay up late at night to watch them so that the next day I'd go into work, whether when I was working for Universal Pictures or Hoyt Cinemas, the Boston Theater, to talk about what won. Well, how do you feel about that movie winning? You know, it was a big deal. They're not so much anymore. The only time they get press is when there's a certain, like when La La Land, and the winner is La La Land. No, wait. It's Moonlight, or so the mighty have fallen. The ratings have tanked. They need to retool. They need to do something. This doesn't help them.
They need to learn from, in terms of hosting stuff. They need to learn from not Chris Choice. Definitely not Chris Choice. Independent Spirit Awards. Spirit Awards has the best hosts because they allow them to sort of do what they do best.
Right.
They get comedians. And I mean, it was the one was hilarious with the guy who was from Big Mouth. I can't believe I can't remember his name. But Aubrey Plaza did the last one that I attended in person.
Mm-hmm.
She was really funny.
Yeah.
And I think was it John Mulaney and God, it's gonna drive me nuts. I gotta look it up.
I mean, I think a host is important, but again, it's finding the right host. Like as much as I love Aubrey Plaza, and she's hysterical, right? But you have to think on a really big picture as to uh, is this our audience is endeared to this person from a movie perspective, and people just don't. It's hard to say that there are star-driven movies anymore. I think they're more franchise driven. I think they're more title driven, to be
Yeah, it was
honest.
Nick Kroll and John Mulaney. I mean,
Yeah.
the two of them with their insults back and forth about things,
Mm-hmm,
it
mm-hmm.
really worked. I mean, even when you go back, like they had Kate McKinnon and Kumal, they had Fred Armisen and Kristen Bell. I mean, these are people who are recognizable and people like enjoy, and they're
Mm-hmm.
used to doing stand-up type comedy.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
they're prime for it. Patton Oswalt, Seth Rogen, Joel McHale. I mean, these are to me when you asked that question earlier, who do you have? I think there's a lot of go for a stand-up comedian. I mean, have Jim Gaffigan do it. I mean,
Well, again, they've tried to have stand-up comedians do it, and
I think they
they've
try
kind
to.
of
I think they water
failed.
it down, right? That's the problem. They don't allow them to do them. Like they have writers write their stuff instead of allowing them
Sure,
to actually create content that's based
but
around their
I
brand.
think it's always been that way. Whether you were Bob Hope or even Johnny Carson and stuff, there was they always had their room of writers to help them write these jokes.
Ricky Gervais couldn't have done that for the Golden Globes because there's no way
I
that would
don't
have,
know.
like because like if you listen to some of the stuff that
Well,
Ricky Gervais says, there's no way that would fly if like someone wrote that down and you
yeah,
read it. Like you were like, whoa,
yeah,
hold on. You
yeah.
can't say
Well,
that about what was the one he made the joke about cats? Oh my god, like it
oh
was
my God, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like no one would be able to say that. Like that would not get past the censors. So he had to like do that, or he was just that good and he does it off the cuff.
Yeah, I don't know. They need a problem. They have a problem they need to fix. And they should start like take a month off, but they need to start it like almost immediately. So anyways, how do we end? In any case, I think that people are coming up with suggestions. I think it really is a hot topic because I think we all want Oscar to be good again. I think we want it to be entertaining, and I think we want Oscar to represent
Make Oscar great again.
well, yeah, and I think that people too, as movie fans, they want Oscar to represent the passion for movie, and I think that's kind of gone. Yeah, they could have their great montages at the beginning and everything, but after that happens, that message kind of goes away. It disappears throughout the show. It really should be a celebration of movies, and whether it be Gandhi, right? Chariots of Fire, and I'm picking these are movies that were known in the consciousness of the country, as well as the commercial product, things like the Lord of the Rings, the third movie there, Return of the King, Titanic, the Forrest Gump. We need to go back to a sense where
having a balance between
a good balance.
Courthouse Darling and those studio movies that people like literally see some of those titles and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that movie. That was a good movie."
Yeah, that was a good, or they remember it because it was in the pop culture for a long time, and they have to recognize this because just because it's a commercial movie doesn't mean that can't be a bad movie. And we need to, that too is equally an art form as making an independent film, because Scott, I think you'll agree with me, as many commercial movies as we've disliked, there are plenty of independent movies that are equally, if not worse.
Yes.
It happens. So anyways, speaking of, you had, I don't know if you could talk about you talked about Amy Adams, and you talked about this, what is it, Girl in the Window or
Woman
something?
in the Window.
The Woman in the Window. That was an interesting trailer this week.
Yeah,
that came out.
I mean, I don't know how many people care about it. I mean, it literally feels like Rear Window meets Disturbia meets like 20 other of these movies that we've seen a
Mhm.
hundred times before. Um, but it's interesting because in this press day for this trailer, it was very funny because Amy Adams to me seemed so uncomfortable, like she had no idea why she was there, and she was like asked questions and she gave such like awkward responses. Like it's funny because it's just I love watching actors who are not marketing machines. And as someone
Right.
who has done a lot of interviews over the years, I appreciate I appreciate the awkward celebrity. The Kristen Stewarts, the Taylor Russells, the Amy Adams, who don't like know how to sell their movie, but they just want to have a conversation
Right.
and they don't want to talk about the generic press questions that they get asked. Um, but it was really funny because this lady was just like asking her, and the answers were just like cringeworthy. She's like, I don't know how to sell this movie. I'm a bad person at selling my products. I only watch. She reminded me of something that Johnny Depp used to say, where like I never watch my movies. She said the same thing.
Right.
I would only watch my movies once. I know Adam Driver also hates watching himself on screen.
Right.
I love that about actors too, right? Like they just want to do their craft. They don't want to sit there and watch themselves like, oh, I should have done that better. Like it's just like they have a job, they do their job, they go home. They're not going
They
to
go
sit there
home.
and critique
Right.
themselves. Um,
Right.
but I hope at the end of the day, I hope the movie is at least entertaining and
I
enjoyable.
hope so. Yeah, it looks good.
I think
It looked all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
Forgive
I
me.
was just gonna say, Netflix obviously, I guess, has some sort of hope for it. Because to do a trailer event, they're very selective. I mean, they're going to be doing one. Obviously, they did one for Over the Moon, which
Mm-hmm.
as is more than likely is not going to win the Academy
Mm-hmm.
Award,
Mm-hmm.
but at least it was nominated. It's been in a conversation all year.
It's a really
Uh,
good movie.
so
Let's
I
see.
guess that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah. So, I'm going to shout out a couple of movies. Number one, it was the Bad News Bears. Are you laughing at Let Siri host?
Yeah,
Because that was really
that's
funny.
I am.
That's actually pretty funny. I was laughing at the same thing. Zach. Bad News Bears celebrates its 45th anniversary this past week, which is crazy to me. Crazy. 1976, April 7th. Paramount actually just came out with a brand new Blu-ray of it that has some pretty nifty special features on there, including an interview with Jackie Earl Haley, Kelly Leak, and they also have some of his Super 8 film that he and his dad shot while making the movie. So I got to shout out because it is my favorite sports movie of all time. But also for you folks, speaking of streaming services, if you have Shudder, I highly recommend this movie that I believe came out this week called The Power. And I think The Power is one of the scarier films to come out since like The Conjuring. It has a Conjuring kind of feel to it. It's a very sly tale of woman empowerment as it is a creepy ghost story. And we got a fresh new face and voice to talk about. Karina Faith, who's the writer-director. She does a really great job. She definitely wants you to listen, and she dares you to keep your eyes open. And then we have the actor who was the actress who I'd never seen before. Let's see, what is her name? I think it's Rose Williams. Rose Williams. She's the lead actress. Have you ever heard of her before?
No, I've never heard
Scott?
of it before.
Well, she's really, really solid. So if you have Shudder, I highly recommend you watch that movie this weekend. It's very layered thematically, which is rare for a horror film. So you have Shudder, Scott. You should check it out. So I could talk about that movie, and we could Yeah, try to
And
leave on a positive note.
I'll give my anniversary shout out, which is a movie that opened 20 years ago today.
Yeah, what's that?
I was the weirdo who absolutely loved this movie, Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie and the
Josie
Pussy.
and the
Oh my God, you should. Oh, we should have had that link up because wasn't there's a video out today that had a reunion, if
Yeah,
I'm correct,
so
right? It was
they
pretty
did a
cool.
reunion video for that, celebrating the 20th year anniversary of it. As many people probably know about this movie, it was a huge box office failure when it came out, but has gained cult status over the years. A lot of people really like this movie because it talks a lot
Mhm.
about commercialism and pretty much what the music industry so very much has become now.
Right,
It
right.
was definitely starting to become during that time, but it has definitely become that way now.
I
It
can't,
was before its time.
I can't believe 20 years.
I know.
20 years. Oh, good God. All right. Well, on that note, get it? Get what I see what I did there? I tied it into music.
Oh God. Well, I will say that if you have a chance, if you haven't seen Josie and the Pussycats, check it out. It's available on all the streaming platforms. You can own it. Rent it. It's super cheap. I'm sure it's like a $3.99 rental.
Sure.
Highly recommended. I was so obsessed with that movie. I actually went to prom wearing the stupid. The girl I was dating at the time was also obsessed with it, and we both had ears. And I remember taking our prom photo, and we both had the ears in. But
that's awesome. Good for you.
It's a great fun movie. Again, before its time, probably the best ever that Tara Reid, best movie Tara Reid has ever been in. Period.
Scott, I gotta my doggies do it. I gotta hold on. Keep talking about Josie and the Pussycats. Okay. I'm gonna do something. I'm sorry. Bye. Okay. I'll be right back.
So I'll take Demetri off this, but yeah, I can't recommend Josie and the Pussycats enough. Also Parker Posey and Alan Cumming are in the film. Probably some of the funniest work from both of those actors that I've seen in quite some time, and just I love the soundtrack. It's just a shame it was very underrated, and I highly recommend that you check it out. With that, I guess we should wait until Demetri comes back to end the show. But I'm looking forward to hearing everyone else and seeing their feedback on all the topics that we've discussed today. Let us know in the comment box below if you like that. And if you're sharing this video and if you watch this episode and you've been sharing them, we do appreciate it a lot. It's been great that we've been getting a bigger and bigger following each and every week. As Demetri has always said, we appreciate the live comments and everything like that. And this weekend, I don't know really what to tell you to watch in movie theaters. There's not really much out there. If you haven't seen Godzilla vs. Kong, as we both said last week, I would recommend going to see that on IMAX or in IMAX. If you haven't, no big deal. I'm just biding time right now, Demetri, because I wanted you to say goodbye with me. So I was telling them in theaters, really the only thing, if they were going to dare to go out to a movie theater, would just to be see Godzilla versus Kong in IMAX, because other than that, there's not really a whole hell of a lot to see.
No, there really isn't. Yeah, we're kind of in that weird week because there isn't going to be another big movie for a little while. If you've been vaccinated and you feel comfortable, go to a theater. I'm going to be going to a movie theater, I think, pretty soon. It's going to be 2 weeks for me. Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks Monday since I got vaccinated. So I hope to go to a movie theater soon. I'm not 100% sure. I've already seen
Mortal Kombat, Demetri, because I know.
Oh yeah, Mortal Kombat. Yay. Yeah. Listen, I'll see it with you, Scott, because I know I would rather go see that movie with somebody who is a fan.
Yeah.
Other than yeah, I'd rather go see the movie with someone's a fan, because how many times do you go see a movie with someone who is a fan of it, right? And it's through osmosis. like you end up liking the movie better because you know that person's having a good time. I think that's one of the great things about the movie going experience is that audience or the people that you see it with could help elevate it some more. They, in the same words, conversely, that if the movie sucks, remember Venom?
Yeah, I do remember Venom. I also remember the fucking spider. Oh, there I go. I did my one curse for the week.
There's the F-bomb!
The Spider-Man movie. Oh my god, you and I watching the Spider-Man movie. That was a special treat. That
See, it works both ways. It works both ways. So, again, I just want to again, Scott, thank the people who've watched us. I think it's I think it need be said because we talk about toxic fandom, we talk about toxicity, we talked about it with Scott Rudin. He puts the Rudin rude and Rudin that we've had a really good fan base. And you know, I actually with a person this past week, you know, people can comment on the YouTube page, and somebody actually did comment on the YouTube page last week, and it was a really fun conversation. The guy was great. He took time he wrote out this thesis about Kong, and it was just really it's great. It's great, and I love that people can have disagreed with us, or they're on tune with us. It's been really, I just love that aspect, and our fans are turning out to be a number one. And you're in the a number one. I think it comes from the top, Scott. So I'll congratulate and say good things about you. I think a lot of it comes from you, Scott. You've built up an amazing, a good solid reputation of being a mensch, which is a really good guy. And I think the show and people who watch too is equally a testament to you as well. So it's a great part to do this show. I think it's been a ton of fun. So
I appreciate it, and I am excited about it. I have a great time with this show. We actually before we close, I'm just going to say this is our 10th episode. So we made it to number 10. May not be that much in podcasts nowadays because I know podcasts go on forever and ever. But, you know, for us, you know, a small little network of people who are just movie lovers and TV lovers, you know, it's hard because we're not paid to do these shows. We're just kind of doing them because we love them and we love talking about the industry and movies and television. So we appreciate everyone once again for tuning in. So thank you so very much. And we'll see you next Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. See you soon.
bye all.